Hello, good day. Welcome to Something to Compare to. I'm your host, Alexander Blucher. Today we're going to be discussing How Successful People Lead by John C. Maxwell. Before we get started, be sure to have your index card to write some quick notes, composition book to be able to journal, and sketchbook where there's a white canvas in there to be able to draw out, plan out what's necessary on today's discussion. Before we get into the discussion, I want to give credits to Joseph Rodriguez on being able to put together a mind map on the books and materials he read and share it on YouTube. Be able to check out his channel. That is Joseph Rodriguez. This book here to me is phenomenal. It took me about 3 days to read it. On my last video or previous videos, I mentioned that I thought this book was more about the whole entry level of starting a job, becoming a manager, and just go up the corporate ladder. I was wrong. From what I pick up from this book is that if you have your circle of people, for me, I think I had when it was upon a time I had a circle of people, be able to network, communicate a lot of things because that's the people you trust. It's just to take off that boundary and be able to help people in your community or people at your job or just give people that extra push if they're just stuck and they're looking for that next lift, I should say, that next level up situation. So why is I picked this book as far as starting off the channel, and especially 2022. Did I even get a chance to say Happy New Year? Like, Happy New Year to you guys. I hope your New Year is off to a great start. And if it's not, just remember there's a word called bounce back. Bounce back and get back in a situation that today is a new year. Or every day is a new day, So it's like, hey, let's just focus in on that and push forward, okay? So why this book? Because everything rises and falls on leadership. If you want to make a positive impact on the world, learning to lead better will help you do it. Very interesting. And also, what are the reasons why we are diving in this book today? If your vision of success includes starting an organization, owning a company, or putting together a team, you need to become good at leadership. If you cannot lead well, you will not be successful, okay? Before I go into the next point here, I want to add that this book really didn't elaborate or specifically went over the measurements of how to make money. It's the attitude, it's the characteristics, it's the mindset to me before you know that money is coming. That's the way I receive this information. So my notes on here is, as it read, I think there's a lot of opportunity for individuals to move up these levels to create self and independent growth in unfortunate areas in the community. What are type of feelings someone is going through when an individual is trying to apply for a job and the rejection takes a toll on their mental state? What are the behaviors of the individual getting the job with no experience? And the last one is, can the individual have expectations in mind before creating any opportunity or services for a B2C or B2B? Now, B2C is business to consumer, and also B2B is business to business. I put these questions in here before we go into the subject, is that honestly, if you're applying for any type of job, what are the expectations? What is the characteristics? What is that job looking forward to for someone having that kind of ethics of being up to par? So even if I'm flipping burgers or working at a pizza shop, I want to come in there with some high enthusiastic characteristics. I want to be attentive. I want to be in a situation that, yeah, I'm flipping burgers or I am making pizza, but this is just temporary, you know. For an entry level position, starting somewhere is temporary, and I think the attitude has an opportunity to go up in different levels. Okay. And for me, to mention about the whole rejection, what are the types of feelings someone is going through when an individual is trying to apply for a job and rejection takes a toll on their mental state? This book doesn't mention it, so I'm just asking more of a question that does when somebody apply for a job and they don't get the job, do they just give up? And does that leave you at a level 0? Because level 1 is position, which I will be going over the table of contents in a few seconds. You know, what happens if you're not in a position to get a job and you just left out here to figure out life, you know? And the first note I put here, I think there's a lot of opportunity for individuals to move up these levels to create self and independent growth in unfortunate areas in the community. Exactly what it says. I think there's communities that doesn't have the fortunate uh, resources, and what are the communications needed just to be able to push forward for that community to be sufficient in their own community. Okay, so something to think about. Um, Not really to make it political or anything like that. It's just more of being self-aware and just be able to wake up somebody, that next person that didn't see it from a different. They didn't know that there was an opportunity to rise or level up. If no one is not saying anything or showing examples or continue to show examples. So the table of content. Level 1, position. Okay. And we have here level 2, permission. Level 3, production. Level 4, people development. Level 5, pinnacle. Here on level 1, position, is based on the rights granted by the position and title. Nothing is with having a leadership position. Everything is wrong with using position to get people to follow you. Position is a poor substitute for influence. So because a company hires somebody, or if you are running an entrepreneur business and this person is only dedicated to do this one specific thing, nothing else, how is that individual growing? Okay. It's fine to pay somebody exactly for what they're doing, but there's opportunities, there's more things into life. My example on this is that I pay a barber to cut my hair. I pay him a fee, and we have conversations about other things. He give me some great advice. I give him some great advice. So it's the things that we look at, And if you work at a company and it's just like, hey, being in the same position for 10, 15 years in the same pay, I would think it's the community responsibility just to be able to mention to that person, hey, you've been working there for 15 years. You ever thought to level up? And in most cases, we do have to respect people's choices if that's what they want to stay at. But there is plenty of opportunity to see why is the reason not to just be stuck in level 1 position. Level 2 is permission. It's based entirely on relationships. On the permission level, people follow because they want to. Okay. Level 3, production. Leaders use their position, relationships, and productivity to invest in their followers and develop them until those followers become leaders in their own right. Level 4, people development. People follow because of what you have done for the organization. Leaders gain influence and credibility, and people begin to follow them because of what they have done for the organization. Level 5, Pinnacle. People follow you because of who you are and what you represent. While most people can learn to climb to levels 1 through 5, level 5 requires not only effort, skill, and intentionally, but also a high level of talent. Okay? Be sure to stay at the end of this video because I definitely share a YouTube link. You can check it out in the description also uh, on who was a character, an actor that was able to show the examples from level 1 all the way up to level 5. You want to stay tuned for that, okay? So that was the table of contents on this book here, How Successful People Lead. And let's see what they say about the upside of level 1 position, okay? The journey through the levels of leadership will only be successful if you dedicate yourself to continual development. When you first become a leader, your leadership page is blank and you get to fill it in any way you want. It's probably one of the reasons why I mentioned in the beginning of my channel to be sure to have an index card for like a quick note, a journal, so you could be able to take time to write the thoughts that are flowing through your mind, and the sketchbook to be able to really draw out and vision what you're feeling to project what needs to get done, okay? So I'm going to read that one more time. When you first become a leader, your leadership page is blank and you get to fill it in any way you want, okay? I have a note here, and the note shares. Note, because the universe is unlimited of possibilities, what is the consideration that can be done in this due time? In other words, how can you make an impact prior in starting a job, a company, or a team? Okay? And then in the book mention the things of questioning in position before even starting the position. Who am I? What are my values? What leadership practices do I want to put in place? My preference, these are the questions you want to ask before starting a job, starting an organization, starting your entrepreneur journey, or even building a team. Who am I? Let's see here. Good leadership begins with leaders knowing who they are. Successful leaders work hard to know themselves. They know their own strengths and weakness. They understand their own temperament. That's great. Put those things into practice on a daily matter so you could become well known in your subconscious and your conscious that you have principles and morals that can and will be done on a daily matter. Okay? So when challenges come up, you know yourself. Okay? What are my values? Your values are the soul of your leadership and they drive your behavior. Before you can grow and mature as a leader, you must have a clear understanding of values and commitment to living consistently with them, since they will shape your behavior and influence the way you lead. Okay? And before I continue here, the last one here is, what leadership practices do I want to put in place? As you think about the way you will define your leadership, take in consideration what kinds of habits and systems you will consistently practice. Like I just mentioned that a minute ago, that's something you want to think about like now. Like if you want, pause the video and write whatever thoughts that come to mind. What is that feeling? What is that feeling and emotion that's running through you right now that say, you know what, I can do better. These are the changes I need to make. Admit to those changes. If you was horrible at communicating, I want to become a stronger communicator. If you were, hey, I'm, how can I say, showing up to work, however, show up to work with a purpose. Like, hey, you already know you're working to pay bills, either if it's working a job, entrepreneur, or some kind of hustle, you know you have a purpose. You putting something into action. You have an opportunity to put into action with some class, if that makes sense. All right. Um, so right here on what are my values and continue on this mind map. As you reflect on your values, I believe you should settle for what you believe in three key areas. What are these three key areas? Ethical values, relational values, success values. On ethical values, what does it mean to do the right thing for the right reason? Great question. Relational values. How do you build an environment of trust and respect with others? Another great question. Success values. Success values. What goals are worth spending your life on? Okay. Here I wrote a note. I think overall my values can be reviewed daily by observing my finances, emotional, and tangible responsibilities. Let me elaborate. When it comes to the finances, I was in a position twice in my lifetime. One, when I got fired from a position. I worked for that position for 3 years. I'm not going to mention the company, but it was just a matter. I was with the company for 3 years, and I was just working, paying bills, sleep, eat, and it's like it was a repeat cycle. But eventually, I was late. I could admit I was late. It wasn't on purpose. It was just the time it took to get to the job was about a good hour, the whole rush hour and everything else. So I was sometimes 2 minutes late, 5 minutes late, um, 15, 30 minutes late. That for some reason, either the company wanted to downsize and they picked the most beautiful reason how to downsize was that anyone that's late, we're going to let them go. So I was that candidate. I was let go. One of the things they did not mention is about my value. Thank you. We appreciate your time being here with us. But it wasn't more of like this is the data that shows what type of productivity you put in. So without going so far left, is that when I got fired, I said I want to become an entrepreneur. And become an entrepreneur, man, if anyone could experience going 2 years or more, it's not a challenge. I'm just saying. I took a different route than most entrepreneurs, but I took a route that getting without working and not getting paid was my route. I wanted to build more knowledge than the money because I knew the money was going to come. So that was after I'm 7 years entrepreneur. The first 2 years was just straight knowledge, understanding, not giving up my character, everything else, right? And then last year, there was I'm gonna say it was an opportunity. It was adversity, but it was an opportunity to just hold off from working, So I put in my 2 week notice, and I went about it was about 5 months, 4 to 5 months without consistent paycheck to paycheck type of money coming in. But I knew that my future was going to hold something more solid because I could just go back to my job and say, hey, I want to be rehired again. And because of my character of who I am, they picked me back up very quick. It's like, I don't know why you left. But that's a little off topic, which is understandable. But just me not having money coming in, I learned so much during that time. Okay. It was stressful and it was depressing moments, but for some reason through that pain, there was so much I learned. So now the most recent, this is why I'm bringing it back on the finances. The topic on finances is that when I already knew about budgeting prior to. So when I budgeted without even having a job, I was like, well, let's say my account is at zero because I have really no income coming in. I was still running the numbers of what's the electrical bill, the water bill, all these bills I have, and say what job can be able to fit these payments. And running through the budget, I say, you know what? Let me pick back up my old job to cover the bills because there's other experiences I already have that if I do make any type of income, it's just a bonus. Is what most people consider a cash flow. Okay, that money doesn't interfere with my day-to-day expenses. So that's where I'm at as far as observing my finances on a daily matter. One of my values, emotion, the emotion state. Wow, that's deep. For me, it's just if someone just having their bad day and they just want to put that energy on me, it's like you almost got to catch it before it happens. And with some great practices of listening to YouTuber Ralph Smart, Swan Teal is another tuber, excuse me, and Emotive Minds. Okay, those are my top 3 YouTubers that kind of help me with my characteristic of just keeping my mind leveled because I know there's a greater purpose. All right. And tangible responsibilities. While going through my adversity last year in 2021, that's another thing I noticed is that tangible, aka the material things or aka the things around me, I felt like things around me could have been a little bit more, much more cleaner. Um, and for some reason, when there's clutter, I'm noticing with myself when there's clutter around me, I don't really get the opportunity to really think thoroughly the way I want to because there's stuff around me. So even before starting this video and this recording, I really made sure the desk was cleared off and the floor was swept and things like that. So when I'm freely speaking, I'm not being agitated by what I'm seeing around my environment. I'm pretty sure, I'm just pretty sure that most people are not in the best situation. So it's like you kind of have to imagine. You have to imagine that next level of what you want, pretty much. Okay. So sorry to go a little left and deep into that. I think it was very needed because this is kind of needed before even starting a job, even before starting a company, even before building a team. You want to make sure you are taken care of first before you start putting that energy and vibration somewhere else. And I really mean that. Okay. So going back here, I think we covered the level 1, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry to be scrolling back and forth so fast. Yeah. So level 1 position we covered. And I was in a sorry for all the arms. Level 1 position has been covered. My focus on this book was just to be able to break through level 1 before elaborating on a potential part 2. You could leave a comment if you do want a part 2 on permission and production. And there's a possibility I could do a part 3 on level 4, people development, and level 5, Pinnacle. But level 1 position brings that foundation of let's get through this first before we can be able to go down or level up in different levels, okay? So I just really focused on that. The downside of level 1 position, let's see here, Each of the levels of leadership possesses downsides as well as upsides. Since position is the lowest of leadership, it has a great number of negatives. Okay. I was able just to notate which was one of the ones I think that, I won't say rubbed me the wrong way, but got my attention. Note, the downside of position is the thought of not going the extra mile because that's not your title to do so. Interesting. The drawbacks on getting something done for moral and principle reasons can allow someone to think twice or have no thoughts at all. Also known as the I don't care response. From the fight or flight response, is the I don't care response is considered the flight response. So I took time and Googled the whole fight and flight response. I Googled it. The fight or flight or freeze or the fight flight response is a psychological reaction that occurs in response to a perceived harmful event, attack, or threat to survival. This theory was first described by Walter Bradford. Okay, very very interesting statement here. Um, I can't elaborate. I can elaborate on this, but I would like for you guys to give it more deep thought if necessary, and leave your comments in the comments below. Um, I can elaborate on it, but let's move on, okay? And that's on the downside of level 1 position, okay? Leaders who rely on position to lead often devalue people. Yes, that hit right on, okay? People who rely on position for their leadership almost always place a very high value on holding on to their position, often above everything else they do. Leaders who rely on their title or position to influence others just not seem to work well with people. Some don't even like people. They neglect many of the human aspects of leading others. They ignore the fact that all people have hopes, dreams, desires, and goals of their own. That's strong. That's deep. Okay, so that's the downside of position. So you can see why this book really broke down of the upside of level 1 position and the downside. And this is just level 1, the foundation part of it. We didn't even get to level 2, the permission, and level 3, production. Like I said, just leave a comment below if you want a part 2, and if I could be able to get 30 comments or more, that would be very helpful, and I'll do a part 2. Best behaviors on level 1 position. Trade entitlement for movement. Okay. And with that being said, it is saying that good leaders don't take anything for granted. They keep working and keep leading. They understand that leadership must be earned and established. That's very deep. Okay. I think that's one of the things why I took on the journey of entrepreneurship and pushing. I mentioned 7 years, but it's already a new year now. So it's 8 years going. I started entrepreneurship, just the idea of entrepreneurship in 2014. And it was like, I don't even know. It's like, I'm trying to think. It's like approaching, for the fellas, I should say. It's like approaching a young lady for the first time ever. Just for me, I know it will be very nervous because it's like what to say, what to do, and everything else. So entrepreneurship is like, okay, I'm here. Where do I start? There's so much information. And even if you do have the information needed to start entrepreneurship, what is the data showing on what we call the conversion rate or why people are not accepting your services or not are accepting your services or not accepting your services. So there's a lot of questioning and analyzing and things like that, which it becomes a form of art at the end of the day. Okay. Beliefs that help a leader move up. Level 1 position. A good leader always include others. And I'm so thankful I was able to do that 2 years ago with a good friend of mine from elementary. I'll share a little bit more on that. Let me read this here. Moving up from level 1 to level 2 requires the greatest personal change from a leader. It requires a change of beliefs and attitudes toward other people and leadership. But here's the truth. Once you decide to include others in leadership, let me read that again. Moving up from level 1 to level 2 requires the greatest personal change from a leader. It requires a change of beliefs and attitudes toward other people and leadership. But here's the truth. Once you decide to include others in leadership journey, you are well on your way achieving success at other levels, which is so true. Now, being that about 2 years ago, I was just exercising in the neighborhood, and mind you, I have a friend that lives in the neighborhood, and we knew each other since since second grade. And for some reason, on this particular exercise day, I just stopped by and knocked on his door, unannounced. I mean, I'm his friend. I mean, we pretty much call each other brothers in a sense. So I was like, "Hey, bro, what's going on? How you been?" Everything's good with him, and everything's fine. I was like, do you have time to, sit down with me and let's talk about some opportunity for me to show you some entrepreneur stuff at the time. And his schedule was very open. I mean, he was working at a part-time job, which now is a full-time he's doing, and there's a lot of other ventures he's doing too. But at that time, he was just really just home part-time, and he's family oriented, so he's with his family and stuff. So one of the things was that he did say yes to the idea. I was like, okay, next week Monday, this time, we're gonna meet at the office, in a sense, and I'm gonna just share what I know. And I could tell you at first, I don't know if he noticed, but I noticed. I felt like I was speaking either Spanish or something to him. I didn't say he faked it to make it, but it's just, I made sure to share the glossary and terms and definitions of why things are done this way and everything else, and it kind of made sense. Eventually, from being at the office, months later, like, hey, check out this business venture. Do you want to start it? We sat down, we went over the numbers, like the potential of renting a vehicle versus owning a vehicle. And it's like, okay, we're going to do it. And we started a pallet service company. And because of my experience of an entrepreneur, for some reason, I had my slow starts. Either I'm just a little bit overwhelmed. So sometimes I'll go very hard on trying to meet up with customers and meet the numbers and everything else in my early entrepreneurial years. But then it was something I wasn't getting. So this go around with my friend slash business partner, I just shared it to him and say, look, if we're going to do this pallet service, let's invest the money in a course. Okay. And there's lots of courses now. You just type in the topic or you think of the business idea and there's courses on it. But this course was a little bit more on the authentic side, meaning that you seen the person doing it, you are in communication with the person that put the course together. I believe some courses that, the course is there, but you're really not in communication with the person that created the course. Um, and the person in the course just say, hey, go ahead, go make money and good luck. And once me and my friend slash business partner went out to start the pallet service company, anytime I'm waking up and sleeping, I'm thinking about pallets. I am thinking about the next potential customer. And I knew I had a goal, which was to work on getting enough customers from like within 30 to 60 days to cover the minimum finances, or the minimum finances of the business. So make sure the truck note is paid, and this bill is paid, and things like that, and insurance, and it was completed within the 60 days. That last year was my first time ever as an entrepreneur, which I pat myself on the back. I tell my friend congratulations, but last year was the first time me experiencing being in the green, which means cash flow. Bills are being paid, and at the end of the day, we could walk home. Me and my friend could walk home with some money in our pocket, which is very important, because the first few years of being an entrepreneur, I just experienced being in the red. Bills still got to get paid, but there was no customers coming in. People had, it was a lot of follow-ups, and the customers were just not as organized as I thought it was going to be. No one's not just going to say, here, there you go, take my money. But it's just a matter of, it was just a lot of hard work. This one with the pallet service is like cut down half or even more of the workload. So even the workload, the location, it was a lot of questions and analyzing the data of what made it a successful business for our first year together. So to bring it back here on the, to bring it back here on beliefs that help a leader move up, a great leader always include others. And subconsciously, just thinking of my friend, and just communicating with him is the prototype that it can be done to others. This is why the YouTube channel, something to compare to, has been created. That if I could do it for my friend, I could do it to amongst other people that eventually I will know. I may not know you now fully, but eventually I will know, because I'm happy to be part of your journey of success. Okay. So let me see here on the closing thoughts. So if you stayed and listened to the end, I want to say very much thank you. Here are my notes here on, I recommend, I'll leave the description, the link underneath the description to watch Poitier, the 2013 Sunday morning. Note, watch Poitier, the 2013 Sunday morning interview. Special thanks for my mother sending me this video. The link is in the description, okay? It was just perfect timing for this link on this interview to come through, because I created another audio and the whole mind map, and I can honestly say I'm glad I did not publish it. My speech was just off fully. The flow of speaking was just off, and my comprehension of what I was reading and what I was saying could have been a little bit much better. So I'm very thankful that I did not publish that, and I could admit that. I could be honest with myself. This mind map here is a little bit more organized. I'm way more relaxed this go around. I'm delivering the information that's need to be said to you guys. I'm just thankful for that. So going back to this watch Poitier, let me see if I get the full name. Give me 1 minute. See if I could add that in there. Hopefully it doesn't cover. All right. Well, I don't want to mess up this recording. So this watch Poitier and see this is why I didn't want. All right. Move that to the side there. Sorry guys, I might have to be edited out. But let's see if we go to YouTube. There's a lot I gotta do. I'm doing extra steps than necessary. So cancel that. Watch Poitier, the 2013 Sunday morning interview. Okay, I think it's less than 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It's not that long, but it is a really great interview. That naturally he was able to express the different levels. The different levels here. I'm not gonna say it. I'll leave that up to you guys to click on the video. But he definitely naturally went through the different levels of how successful people lead. Okay. What else we have here is that on the closing thoughts, while life is 24/7, whether you are asleep or awake, the infinite powers of the sun, earth, moon, and other planets are working together for you to have a purpose in this world. We can all agree that there is levels in a journey. Do we know how to maneuver from one level to the next? Okay. And the last one here. If you are interested in watching part 2 how successful people lead, please say part 2 in the comments. Once there's 30 comments or more in this video, I will start to prepare a part 2. In the meantime, purchase this book. It's a great book. Read it and have the book as part of your collections in your home. Okay. And with that being said, guys, thank you for listening to Something to Compare To. I'm your host, Alexander Blucher. Have a great day.